Welcome to Deep Look, Multi-World's weekly radio show about the current state of Ultimate. I am the host and editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Keith Raynor, Multi-World senior editor. It is Wednesday, August 31st. It's almost fall, Keith. The pumpkin spice latte is back at Starbucks. What's your favorite season?
I guess spring, college ultimate season, baby. It comes around and you also get to go outside, but are you a fall guy?
I think I might be a fall guy. I'm a spring and fall guy. I'm a shoulder season guy.
You can't half of the seasons it, all right? It doesn't work like that.
I like all the seasons. Skiing in winter, like getting back outside in the spring and in the Northeast, so nice. But fall, I don't know, the crisp in the air. You get to open up the wardrobe again. It's not so brutally hot all the time.
You must not have to shovel snow, huh?
Oh no.
Brutal. It's a back destroyer, and I know you're supposed to live with the knees. It doesn't matter. It's gonna get you.
Yeah, I do not. That is one perk of living in New York City in an apartment building. You do not have to shovel. Although, you know what, I will say, I do have to shovel my car out sometimes. That's brutal. That's really brutal. But on the flip side, the street sweep doesn't come around, so you get to leave it parked on the street for a long time.
That's fair. That's fair.
AUDL Championship Weekend has come and gone, and it was a coronation for New York, who absolutely dominated the weekend. They beat Chicago 22-14 in the final. Suffocating defensive effort and incredibly confident and resilient offense against strong pressure from Chicago. And that was after they beat Carolina 22-16. Of course, the defending champions in the semifinal. Keith, we knew this New York team was good. We knew they were the favorite. We both picked them to win the title. But I don't even think I expected to see this level of dominance from them as they waltzed past everybody to the 2022 title, their second in 3 years.
I was watching these games, these championship weekend games in Atlanta. I went down there to visit my family with my son and my wife. And, I was watching these games. I'm seeing them play against Carolina, against Chicago, these vaunted challengers, talented teams. But neither really felt like they played very well. And, at first with Carolina, it was kind of like Carolina just didn't bring their best. But then you see it from Chicago, too. And you start to wonder that, the common denominator here is the New York part. And I don't know if teams were intimidated by them or just their level of execution was so high combined with the pressure they could apply on the other end that it had an impact. It wore down players. I mean, it's possible that teams just coincidentally played poorly against them at the most important times of the season on the biggest stage. That's possible. But does it seem like the most likely explanation here? I don't think so. I mean, they were the more prepared team. They looked more experienced and poised, and they looked like they were forcing teams to play their game. And it's no wonder that even their opponents, who were the best teams in the league, looked out of sorts against them. I mean, they made really good teams look pretty mid.
Yeah, I don't think this is a story of the other teams no showing. I really do think that this was New York playing amazing. I mean, I thought, frankly, Carolina to a lesser extent, but certainly Chicago played great defense. I mean, we just watched Chicago's defense dismantle Colorado a day prior, and I thought they brought pressure all game. And, they got a couple breaks, but so often it was just Jack Williams getting tough resets, John Lithio getting open at stall 5 or 6 to come underneath and catch the disc, and then, do more than just be a kind of role-playing cutter. Like, he was making big throws and scoring a lot and punishing weaker defenders. I felt like their offense was just unflappable against really good pressure. And then, you had their D-line where you have opportunistic defenders like Ben Katz, able to kind of roam around because they had the lockdown guys like Gibran and Ben Yat in the deep space, creating problems. And I thought Marquez Brownlee played great up at the front of the defense on the mark for the big handler types. for the teams that they faced. And I don't know, it just didn't seem like teams had an answer for the depth and quality that New York brought, along with just clearly like a much higher level of focus than really we've seen from them at any point this year.
And it shows. I mean, when you look at the stats from this game, there's not a single category you can find that Chicago outplayed New York. There just isn't one. It's at every level. Turnovers, blocks, hucks, percentages of execution defensively, offensively. I mean, this game probably wasn't as close as even the score looked. And, you can say Chicago didn't play well. Do you ascribe Joe White just stone cold dropping the best break chance of the game?
That was brutal.
At that point, no. Do you ascribe that to defensive pressure? Perhaps. I mean,
no.
I think
that was
initially you might not, but the fact that you're playing against New York in the championship game, you're already down. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes. Like that can have an impact on your ability to play at your best. But those kinds of mistakes really just made sure that Chicago couldn't get back into it. And again, like you mentioned, the depth. We know that Jack Williams and Ryan Osgar and Ben Yott and Jeff Babbitt, we talked about them all damn year for a good reason. They're going to go out, they're going to get theirs, and they did. When Chicago couldn't punish John Lithgow, Elliot Chartok, Solomon Roshmeyer-Bailey, when they couldn't go after the weak links on the New York line, I mean, it was over. I mean, when they were losing the matchup to John Lithgow, you just have to concede the rest of the game because you can't lose the top and the bottom and expect to win the game,
Yeah. I mean, Lithgow led the game in plus minus, 5 goals, 2 blocks, had an assist, 314 yards of offense against Chicago. And, look, he was not the most important player in the game, but they were forced to put better defenders elsewhere. And, I thought that they did a valiant job of trying to play defense against New York. I thought Asher Lance played pretty well. They kept pressure on Jack Williams all game. He's just too good. I mean, Jack Williams is the best player on the planet. He won finals MVP. He was basically unanimous. I don't think anybody didn't vote for him. He's the best player on New York. He's the best player on New York. Ryan Osgar is going to win the MVP, and Jack Williams is the best player on the team. And it's just because he was just kind of chilling in third gear most of this season. But then when it was crunch time in the playoffs, he won them the game against DC. And then he was by far, obviously, their best player at Championship Weekend. And it's just, so composed. The ability to hit difficult inside breaks and put them on the money with pace. Going up in 2-hand jams in the end zone. How do you stop this guy? I don't think you can.
Yeah, he did it all. He had that dime inside forehand that you mentioned where he just snapped it off cross field, IO throw, nasty, flattened out, just a perfect throw. The kind of thing that I think probably is more impressive to an Ultimate player than it is to just a regular fan. Then he also had that deep cut where he just sprinted by everybody to get to it. He was fantastic. He's easily got to be considered the most clutch player in the game right now. The guy just does it time in and time out when the game needs him the most. And that was another thing that New York did really well. They just continued to execute well at the end of quarters. That was, a way to take away an ability's team to come, the opponent's ability to come back. New York just continued to finish quarters well. And
such killers.
That really sapped teams. Yeah, it's difficult for teams to figure out what to do. I mean, this to me looks like the best team we've ever seen in the AUDL.
Yes.
They're less dominant than some of the teams that we've seen in the past, but the level of competition at this point is way higher. So to see them perform at this way, I mean, I think they would best any other team that we've seen in the history of the AUDL.
Yeah, I think they're better than the best ever Roughnecks team. I think they're better than the Flamethrowers teams and the San Jose teams. I just think, we're seeing some of the best players of their generation all together on a roster with depth all the way through their 20-man team. Their second D line, it's not an amazing lineup, but they were getting blocks and converting scores in some cases. And last year, the second D line was unplayable at Championship Weekend. They could not even consider putting those guys on the field. And remember, when they lost to the Flyers in the finals last year, it's because their only option offensively was like run it through Yacht, Williams, and Oscar. That's all they had. There was no other option. And I think some of it is personnel management and time in the program, all that stuff. But I think a big thing, moving Babbitt to offense primarily and getting him more involved in the game is so smart. You know, he's just neutralized too much when he's playing on the D line. Not that he doesn't come up with great plays, but just because, you know, he doesn't have as many opportunities to impact the game, you know, when they don't get the disc. And so you put him on the offense, and he has proven to be just literally an unstoppable cutter. Like how do you stop him when he gets a full head of steam? I think the only way to beat Babbitt is to like make him run around a lot, like poach off of him when he's standing in the stack and like make him go do something and like get tired. Because I just think like in a one-on-one, I'm going to beat you to the cone situation, he kills you. He killed Ring at Worlds, and he just absolutely killed Chicago in the final.
Difficult spot. I mean, there were people in Discord talking about, do we need a luxury tax? Do we need a salary cap to keep the Empire from being so good? I mean, we can't make light of the fact that, you know, yeah, it's a smart move to switch Yacht and Babbitt. I think that worked out pretty well, but it also helps to pick up Antoine Davis and John Randolph and
Charles Weinberg,
who is fantastic. You tried to beat me to it, but I was on that too. You know, that makes it pretty easy to move one of your best defenders over to your O-line when you have all of that extra talent lying around. So, you know, New York they are the rich in this situation. So they maximize that. That's for sure. The one way that they could have lost, I think, is by mismanaging their personnel, by failing to scheme, by failing to be focused. And they didn't give up any area on any of those. So they were able to wash everybody. Who do you think, who's the second best team in the league? What do you think, having seen all the teams in person now? And why is it Philadelphia?
I mean, the obvious candidate besides Chicago, here's the teams you can consider. You have Chicago, you have Raleigh, both who lost to New York, and you have DC, who also lost to New York in the previous round.
So basically everybody lost to New York.
Yes. I think, because, you know, we had the 4 clear best divisional teams at the tournament. So like you wipe out everybody else except the team that lost to New York, DC, who, by the way, gave them the toughest game of the season. Is my answer DC? No, I'm going to say Chicago. I've thought about it a bunch. I think it's Chicago. I think that their combination, once they were at full strength at Championship Weekend, and they had Joe White out there, and they had Paul Arders out there, and they had their full contingent and their full lineup, they looked like the best team. Now, could DC have beaten them in a one-off game? Maybe. But I think, you know, Chicago's offense was really good, just like DC's. And I think very clearly Chicago's defense, once it was at its peak, was better than DC's. I think DC, it's a divisional game. Those games are tighter. It's the same thing in the NFL. You watch these teams that maybe, you know, aren't the best teams in the league, give the top teams in the division problems because they know this players really well. They know the systems inside and out. They've schemed, not just for the, you know, the game that they play in the postseason, but the whole year and over multiple seasons. So I think DC has always given New York a tough time. Ultimately, I think Chicago is the second best team in the league. Do you agree?
I'm with you.
You do agree?
Yeah, you know, Carolina had a couple of disappointing outings. They did not look good against New York. I mean, that was not their best effort by a long shot, and I was surprised. I was surprised to see them, you know, play down a little bit, and I wonder how they're gonna bounce back. You know, but Chicago proved it. I don't see a reason to be skeptical of them. You know, I guess they have the one regular season mistake against Minnesota, but I feel like the sole loss for Carolina evens that out. And DC, I don't know, man. I feel like that was kind of a best case scenario for them.
Yeah.
Like if they played that game 10 times, I'm not sure how many times they're going to get that result. Call me a hater if you will, but that's probably how I'd power rank them. is in that order: Chicago, Carolina, DC.
I mean, I think the problem for Carolina, like when they go back and they look at that game, I think they're going to be like, we just didn't get enough Eric Taylor. We should have played Eric Taylor more points. We should have played him on offense more. Same thing like with Babbitt in New York. He's their best player. He plays D-line, which is a luxury to have, but they didn't have answers. I mean, he only ended up with 71 yards of offense in the game. That's not good enough. And, I thought he played pretty good defense, but a lot of the time he's covering Osgar and Williams, who, as good a defender as he is, he's not shutting those guys down. Not every time. So I think for Carolina, the real problem was that their D-line didn't have enough punch. I mean, they just did not. Where do they go once they get the turnover? Suraj Mataraju is throwing hucks from the backfield. That's not what you want. So I think they're going to be fine. They have so much young talent, but they do need to kind of figure out we got some older players who probably need to cycle off the team at this point, and we need to figure out who's going to run the D-line. I think maybe they have a little, having Gooch and Saul both on the O-line maybe doesn't make sense for the Flyers anymore. Maybe it makes sense for Ring, but I think, you need one of those guys to go out and be a quarterback for your D-line.
I'm pretty sure they both are worse than me and you if they're not together.
They must stay together. It's
they must
peanut butter and jelly.
Together. Yeah. Tell them I said that. I know they're listening. I know at least Saul's listening.
I don't want to kill their O-line because I thought their O-line is pretty good. They had a bunch of weird turns. That game was weird too. There was the stoppage in the first half that kind of stopped a Carolina possession, and then John Randolph gets a hand block on Alex Davis, and New York goes the other way and gets a break right at the buzzer, and they were so deflated by that. You wonder what would be different if Carolina cashes in one of those early breaks. I mean, kind of a weird game, but they fell apart pushing in the second half.
Man, if only there were a potential generational star who was known for his offensive ability, but had just spent an entire college championship season playing D-line, who could be recruited to this Raleigh Flyers team potentially. If only such a player existed.
Keith, I want to ask you this: is Colorado the worst team in the league?
I mean, they're not the worst team in the league,
Oh, no, they just laid a monstrous egg against Chicago in the other semi.
But look, this is exactly what you expect from a team that's never been there, right?
Sure.
This is just part and parcel. This is the script as you write it beforehand, right? This is the year you go out, and now if they fight their way back, we're talking about their redemption story. We're talking about their resolve and how they've learned the lessons from the year prior. I mean, think about Chicago last year, messing it up in the semifinals, and then they come back this year and they look that much better. So this to me is part of the growing process for Colorado. Clearly a talented team, but yeah, that was not good for them.
Yeah, I mean their primary O-line guys, Nethercutt, Landisman, Jackson, combined for 9 turnovers in the game. Just never even got a foothold. And to be honest, some of it was Chicago's defense, which was very good. But they also just dropped the disc. Point blank, someone throws a hammer and it's right to the guy and just drops it. I mean, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. And by the time that they kind of stabilized in the game, they were already down 6. And it was just too late. They couldn't do enough to knock Chicago's O-line off. And, I think we saw in that game, though, that Chicago was susceptible because then, they kind of had similar mistakes and struggles against New York. But I think Colorado has a very bright future, but certainly they've got a lot of work to do to match the level that's required at championship weekend.
If you asked me, can Colorado win a game scoring 14 goals? I would bet my life savings, your life savings.
All of our listeners, actually, we're going to tap their bank accounts and bet all of their life savings too.
I would hack into other people's bank accounts to make them money by betting on that Colorado's going to lose if they only score 14. No chance. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know. This is a Colorado team that was averaging 25 points a game or whatnot. They got off 10 hucks, they completed 5, and they scored 14 goals. It's just
West Division, man. Chicago being plus 120 in this game was so crazy, like even crazier in retrospect. But like the West Division, there's nobody playing any defense. They don't play any defense out west.
Somebody tried.
It's like Pac-12 after dark out there, and then they just come to championship weekend and get blasted.
Somebody tried to tell me that Chicago's schedule was soft and they were going to get exposed. I was like, you're not watching enough West. You're not watching enough of that West Division, man.
West
Division's solid, but there's just not a lot of really, really strong teams that are really deep. There's not a lot of bad teams, I don't think, but there's. Portland got pretty bad by the end of the year. Once they waved the white flags, it was disaster.
It's fun to watch those games because it's like shootouts, like Huck Fest. But I don't think those teams come into championship weekend prepared for the level that they're going to see. And the Midwest, they're grinding.
Especially not a first year team. Not a first year team. But yes, I hope that we get more interdivisional play.
Oh, I agree. I think it'd be good, but it's expensive. I get why they don't do it.
Me too.
But, like Madison is the best defense in the league still. Like they allow the fewest goals, the fewest hucks, you name it. And Chicago has to go up against that. They're more talented, but like the level of like preparedness and defensive, scheming is a lot higher in the other divisions than it is in the West. So let's see. I wanted to ask you like end of season power rankings. So we've named our top 2 teams. Let's go like 5-6 teams deep. Who's number 3?
So I gave you my top 4. So I'm on New York, Chicago, Carolina, DC, and I don't see any reason not to put Colorado as 5.
Could be Minnesota.
I think I'd take Austin over Minnesota. I think I'd take Austin.
Interesting.
At 6.
I mean, Minnesota really did not play well in their game against Chicago.
Not that Austin played super well, but I still like their ceiling.
Yeah, do I put Colorado ahead of DC? I don't think that's possible. I think it's got to be frustrating for DC, right? Like you're a top 3 to 4 team, and now you've lost in consecutive seasons before championship weekend to the eventual champion, and you're just stuck behind Toronto for years, and then behind New York for years, and too bad. I think there was some spitballing going on about, rule changes, because we could talk about that. Maybe we could do that in a bonus segment, because I feel like we can go back to the well on some of the discussions we've been having, Keith, about, like time wasting and picking up the pace of the game, shot clock, that kind of thing.
There's no format change here for me that makes that much sense, especially given the cost constraints of the league. This is a classic get good scenario, as the kids say.
Fair.
Just get good. Like
I think it could be cool. If you want to
be a championship weekend, you got to beat the team in your division.
I think it could be cool to either have 8 teams playing cross-divisional games before championship weekend, or if you don't want to do it that way, you could have 12 teams make the playoffs and then play like 2-3 games within the division, and then do cross-divisional games so that you get more teams into the playoffs. But it could be really cool to have, let's say DC played Salt Lake instead of New York before they got to championship weekend.
It would be really cool if you're not writing the check.
I understand your point. I think you're right. It doesn't mean you had to say it.
Look, hey, if you want an actual solution, look at the Western Ultimate League. I mean, would you be mad if there was every year a weekend where one team from each division came together? And this could be predetermined. You could have it rotating which team's going to be in this tournament each year. And you go and you play a doubleheader, and you play 2 interdivisional games all at one site. Let's say this year it's Portland and Minnesota and Philly and Dallas all travel to Salt Lake, and they play doubleheaders or whatever.
That's what the Premier Lacrosse League does too.
So I'm just saying that is a cost saving method that'll get you in interdivisional games. So there are options out there.
I would be curious about it. My concern is that you add a lot of road games and you don't add a lot of actual ticket sales. But maybe I'm wrong.
It's true.
Maybe people would want to come out. Interesting. And, overall, though, I got to be honest. frustrating AUDL season. I mean, you slog through a bunch of like feeling like meaningless games during the regular season, and it's like, okay, we got these amazing teams at championship weekend, 3 total losses combined. This is the best 4 teams who've ever had a championship weekend, and then we don't even get a close game. Not even one, not even close. Blowouts all the way around. It's not ideal. But obviously, huge kudos to New York for just dominating. And I think the coaching staff deserves credit. I think the players deserve credit. The ownership deserves credit. It was a complete performance.
There were like 3 meaningful upsets in the entire season.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like, there's not a lot to go with, and we still had some of the issues with road teams bringing skeleton crews. I do think the AUDL continues to do a great job with presentation. It progresses every year. The conversation around the league just continues to be a healthy one as far as like consuming the product. Like people who are interested in the AUDL are able to have great discourse about it. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of clips. Videos generally pretty accessible. Pretty annoying that the only game in the entire playoffs that was any good you couldn't watch on AUDL TV. And I don't even know if that film is available now. Can you get it now if I want to go back and watch a DC New York game?
I think you got to wait 30 days. I think you got to wait 30 days. Yeah, no, that was a total disaster. The FS2 deal was just a nightmare.
They definitely needed the Buffalo Wild Wings button on one of these games. Like, come on, we need a little drama for the sake of the league.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. I mean, I think that we're not going to see that again. They would be crazy to sign that deal again. It was a net negative for everybody involved. So that is the AUDL season. It's all wrapped up, and we'll start looking ahead to next year soon enough. But coming up, we've got the Pro Championships. It's the capstone tournament of the regular season in the club division of USA Ultimate. It's happening in Raleigh, and we're going to talk about it next. It's time to talk about Sunset Lake CBD, a hemp farm located just outside of Burlington, Vermont. For years, Sunset Lake produced milk for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and in 2019, they diversified and started growing hemp for CBD. They believe that their farm table approach is the best way for you to get responsibly produced, high-quality CBD products that actually work. Sunset Lake CBD crafts topicals, gummies, oils, and more to help with stress, aches, and sleep. I have been traveling a ton this year for Ultimate and Disc Golf. I'm actually in Kansas right now for the Disc Golf World Championships. I'm crossing time zones. I have weird wake-up times for flights. And Sunset Lake CBD gummies particularly help me stay relaxed in all of these crazy situations. And I like the melatonin ones when I'm trying to get some sleep and I'm going 3 time zones away. And it's just been a crazy summer. So really appreciate having that on hand. And if you want to check out some of the Sunset Lake CBD products, go to, you guessed it, sunsetlakecbd.com and use coupon code DEEPLOOK to get 20% off all products. Sunset Lake CBD, farmer owned, Vermont grown. Welcome back to Deep Look. Pro Championships are this weekend. 3-day tournament over Labor Day weekend, and it's the end of the regular season. That means that the rankings are going to get finalized. We're finally going to get a look at the top teams playing against each other in a full strength setting. And, we're going to have robust divisions across men's, mixed, and women's. This is really the tune-up tournament for nationals, Keith. I mean, this is the big stop for teams before regionals and then nationals. So it's taking place in Raleigh at the WRAL Soccer Park. There will be live streaming from Ulti World all weekend long. We're going to have games. We got some really exciting stuff. I mean, this is the first time we're going to be talking about it publicly, so I'm pretty excited. We're going to have a normal stream, standard stream, youtube.com. You know the drill. We're going to have multiple cameras. It's going to be a typical broadcast.
Wow. That's incredible. What an announcement, Charlie.
And we are debuting.
Oh, there's more.
We are debuting Ulti World Field Pass. And what that means is we're going to have a multi-game stream where we're going to be bouncing around between different games. We're going to have 3 additional feature games, and this will be for Ulti World Full and Plus subscribers. So if you're a Fuller Plus subscriber, you're going to be able to tune into our second stream. Keith will be the anchor on this Field Pass broadcast. And if you've ever watched NFL Red Zone, where you're jumping around from game to game to check out the biggest plays, the scoring opportunities, and you just get to enjoy the full extent of a set of games, which is, of course, what we have in Ultimate in each round. That's what we're hoping to do. This is the first time we've ever tried something like this, and we hope to make it really fun and exciting, and we hope that we get a bunch of close games to bring you those down the stretch. Additionally, we'll be filming all of those games in full, and they will be cut down into condensed versions and posted for subscribers later if you just want to watch those individual games for scouting purposes, filming purposes, etc. So, Keith, I know that we've literally dreamed about doing something like this for years and years, and we're actually going to give it a shot. And I can't wait, because I think the idea here is to have you feel like you're at the field, hence the name Field Pass, and you're on the sideline of a bunch of different games and you're taking them all in. We're going to show you the best moments, the biggest plays, and get you in on all of the action. I know I'm excited. How do you feel about it, Keith?
It should be even better than being at the fields. It's actually pretty hard if there's like two awesome games going on at once at the fields, unless they're like literally right next to each other. It can actually be pretty difficult to follow two games concurrently. So hopefully we're able to help you through that process, give you the context you need to know. Plus, unlike real life, we have replay. So if two awesome moments are happening at the same time, you don't have to pick only one to look at. You can watch one and then we'll bring you the other. Don't worry about it. So this should be even better than being it's like being at the fields, only you're sitting on a fluffy cloud with wonderful food and air conditioning and the instant replay. So it'll be even better than being at the fields.
So, of course, we want to hear from you if you tune in, and we hope that you do. Please send us feedback, even during the weekend. We're certainly looking ahead to the future to think about if this is a model that makes sense, particularly for pool play rounds and early game action at tournaments. So this is our first step forward towards it, and we're working really hard to try to make it a really awesome experience viewing at home. Once we get later into the weekend, we will switch back to kind of a normal stream for semifinals. We'll be showing all 6 semifinals from the tournament, and then the finals, we're going to have even extra cameras on those and bring you full final streams. So this should be a great tournament. We have great teams, and Keith, it's time to break down what you think is going to happen this weekend. Which division you want to take?
Why don't we start in the women's division, Charlie? It's the one that's different than the other two. So a little unique spot to start in. And I think we have perhaps the most interesting field of any of these, because there's some teams that we really haven't gotten a chance to see go against one another. Now, we're missing some key important members of the cast here, but this is our chance to see really the top teams in the women's division go up against one another. And we know how much of the championship equity really comes down to how the top teams compete against one another. So we'll be getting our first looks at the likes of Molly Brown and Phoenix and Sixers at this level. And even, there's some changes to Brood Squad, traffic's in the field, scandals in the field. So there's a lot to be excited about looking at the women's division.
Yeah. I mean, look at the top 3 seeds in in each pool. Pool A, Brood Squad, Sixers, Phoenix. And then you got Schwa as the 7 seed at this tournament. I mean, that's a good 7 seed. And then Black Widows, that'll be fun. Kind of like a showcase team. And then Traffic, Molly Brown, Scandal, top 3 in Pool B with Nemesis and Bent. So I'm super excited. I mean, the games amongst those top 3 seeds are all going to be great. And a chance for us to really see, like, how good is Scandal? How good is Phoenix? What should we expect from Molly Brown after, by the way, they lost last week to Flipside, the new team in SoCal, who looked like they were almost going to beat Fury too, but Fury came back to win the de facto final of the Bay Area invite. And so Fury goes undefeated, but Flipside, very impressive. Where's Molly at after that? I still feel that Molly's going to be one of the best teams in the nation this year, but not necessarily the most convincing start, even if they did win their other games, except the one against Fury.
Yeah, and definitely Molly's one of the teams to watch here, and I know there are going to be people like Traffic at 2. Are they really that exciting? Hey, they lost to Flipside by the same number that Molly did, by the same margin. So don't entirely write off Traffic till they get their chance to show their stuff too. Maybe we've got a particularly deep field. I mean, we've already seen Scandal get a win over Phoenix. So Scandal, who's also in that pool as the 3 seed, could they be a real legitimate challenger for a semifinal spot? As was pointed out to us today, as the rosters have come out, Sandy Jorgensen reappearing on the Scandal roster. What has Sandy Jorgensen got in the tank as one of the most dominant players in the history of the game? Very curious to see that play out.
Yeah, and we're past the roster deadline, so unless they're just picking her up for this, like, we should expect to see her for the series. A lot of fun. Well, I can't wait to watch these games and see how it all shakes out. You know, and like all the way to the bottom of this bracket, right, of these pools, I think interesting teams like, you know, Bent and Black Widows are clearly the bottom 2 seeds, but like Bent wants to be a competitive team that goes to nationals. This is their chance to prove it because they're certainly going to get good games against good teams. I don't know if they have it, but we're going to find out.
But there are more roster additions to be added, including on Bent. Bent adding Shani Crawford, so getting some experience there. Sixers getting Molly Wedge, who's formerly has played with the team before and is one of the best players in Britain.
Yep, what's on the World Games team?
Brute Squad getting Anushka Beaudry. What is going on with Anushka Beaudry playing with everybody but Sixers? This is wrestling. This is wrestling territory right now. This is WWE heel turn. I can't believe what I'm seeing, but much drama to be had with Anushka Beaudry popping up on the Brute Squad roster. So, there's some there's new life being breathed into this already pretty compelling division.
It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's kind of the first time we're going to get a really good look at these teams because there was no women's division at the U.S. Open, and so now we get to see most of the top teams take the field against one another here at Pro Championships. Keith, do you want to make your picks?
Yeah, what are we picking? Just finalist and winner here?
I think we go semis, finals, winner.
Okay. Pool winners. I'm going to take Molly Brown to bounce back and Brute Squad to win their pool. So we have Molly and Brute in their respective spots. Ooh, it gets tough to figure out. I mean, Sixers and Phoenix are both good. In fact, I'm going to take those 4 in the semis. I guess I need to know who's going to play.
So you're going to pick Sixers and Phoenix to win their crossovers into semis, basically.
They're they're their quarters. They're pre-semis, whatever, however you want to phrase it. I don't know. I still don't know which of those teams I think is going to win their pool play game, though. Give me the New England, or give me the Northeast final. I'm going Brute Squad versus Sixers in the final. Brute Squad gets the win. Okay,
I like it. I'm actually going to go Scandal winning Pool B over Molly and Traffic. They looked, that fact that they beat Sixers or Phoenix is pretty impressive to me. So I'm going to take Brute Squad and Scandal to win their pools. Traffic and Molly will get through in Pool B. I have Molly Brown in second, Traffic in third. And then on the other side, I'm going to take Sixers over Phoenix. And I think Sixers is going to win their crossover. And I think Phoenix is going to win theirs. Molly Brown, Phoenix. I hope we get that game. I'll take Phoenix. So those are my semis teams. And for the final, I'm going to go Brute Scandal. And I'm going to take Brute for the win.
All right, so you've got so you ended up with the same. You ended up with Phoenix and Sixers as your semifinals losers, right?
I did.
Okay, so Brute over Scandal, Phoenix and Sixers also in semis. Got it. So we have the same. We have the same 4 teams except we swapped Scandal and Molly Brown.
Right.
Okay, got it. And we both have Brute to win. Surprised that we somehow came out with the same team because I the margins are pretty slim here. I really could see
I agree with that,
teams taking
but
this thing down.
I feel like I'm a little gun shy with Molly right now after last weekend.
But it would be very Molly to come back and win the Pro Championship
agree.
after that.
I would love to see them do that.
Don't let both of us. My point is, don't let both of us picking Brute make it seem like Brute is some heavy favorite. I think would not make them a favorite against the field.
It's not like years past. This is not the same Brute. In the mixed division, your teams are in this order seating wise: Hybrid, Noise, Amp, Dragon Thrust, Toro, Shame, Sprocket, Storm, Classy, Public Enemy, Darkwing, and Fleet. Kind of a drop off after the first half the teams, basically. Although there's some interesting teams in the field too. Like, what's up with Storm? They're going to earn a bid. And so we do get the Hybrid Noise potential rematch once again. And what do the legacy teams like Amp and Dragon Thrust, how do they look? Shame looks really strong this season. The Amp Shame game in pool play should be fun. So Keith, your thoughts on the mixed division?
Ooh, yeah, it's a weird feel. There's that kind of cutoff. And I don't know what to expect from some of the teams, the lower seeds. Like, what are we going to get from this Toro team that has a lot to fight for, has some pretty good results, but also some kind of mixed results. We've seen them win and lose against Mixtape. What do you do with that? But also they take a loss to Fight Club. So I don't know. Public Enemy also has had, and Dragon Thrust have both also had some strange results this year. But the one that you think of is Public Enemy gained the win over Amp, right? So we know that their ceiling's high. Like it's definitely a little wonky when you get down lower in the seeds. But I think what people are going to be looking for are, can these top seeds assert themselves? These are teams that I think people were thinking about as potential semifinalists. I'd say when you're probably talking about going into the season, these 4 teams and the 2 Seattle teams. Like, that's who I think people would have pegged as at the top of the heap. Can they look like those kinds of teams at this tournament? That is going to be the question, because we haven't necessarily seen that for many of them except Amp, who also has some less than stellar results along the way. So you're looking for teams to separate themselves from the pack so that we can really establish favorites, because now there really isn't a clear favorite in the mixed division right now.
Isn't it Mixtape? I mean, I think it's Mixtape.
I think so too, but they just lost to BFG. Yeah,
that's fair.
I would pick Mixtape, but I think that muddies the waters.
It does. So they're doing so the pools of 3 and then crossover games into the bracket. If you win your pool, you get a bye into quarterfinals. I'm taking Hybrid, Noise, Shame, and Dragon to win their pools. And I also think those are going to be your semifinalists, Keith. And after that, I think I'm going to take Hybrid and Shame in the final. And I think Shame's going to win this tournament.
Wow. Talk me through this. So you're talking about a 6 seed that's bringing like 14 people to this tournament or something. I don't know. I guess they have 18, maybe.
I can't say that I looked super close to see it, like what the size of their roster was going to be, but like, I worry about do I worry that the tournament's too long for them to hang in there with a short lineup? I mean, I like the lineup they're bringing is the thing. And I'm not convinced at all by Hybrid or Noise after what I saw at Worlds. I'm sticking with it. Okay. All right.
Man, I really don't want to have to think about these crossover games. I'm over crossovers, man.
I think the pool winners are likely to be the best teams, but
this is very true. Okay. Yeah, but I kind of like Shame to maybe win Pool C and then get worse as the tournament goes on.
That's a reasonable take.
Behind the thin roster, I worry a little bit about them being like hyper dependent on Owen Westbrook around the disc. I mean, their female matching players are crazy athletic, and that group basically doesn't have a weakness. But they're going to be missing the kind of disc slinging that they've gotten from Nick Lance and other throwers in the past, I think they're going to have Westbrook be getting a ton of touches. So I worry about that being a bit of a fragile strategy. I can't really explain it, but I'm just getting Sprocket vibes right now.
Oh, wow.
I cannot explain it. Look, I'm taking them to upset Noise though in Pool B though.
Wow.
I'll tell you that now. So I'm taking Hybrid, Sprocket. Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll take Hybrid, Sprocket, Shame, Toro. I'm going two seeds coming out strong.
Love it.
So I think those teams are going to win their pools. And I'll take Hybrid to beat Shame in crossovers. Okay, I just want to make sure I have a possible matchup when I get further down in the bracket. Okay. So, man, this is unnecessarily confusing. All right, so I've got Hybrid and Game 2. Okay. Yeah, I've got Hybrid and Sprocket on one side of the bracket and Toro and Shame on the other. Yeah, I'm gonna take Toro and Hybrid in the final. Let me just make sure I know where Amp is, because I do think they can play spoiler here. I like Amp on the back end.
The seeding crossover games make this just incredibly complicated.
They really do. Okay, so Amp will be on the side with the loser of Game 2, which in my thing is Sprocket. Ooh. Hybrid Amp semis. Yeah, okay. Do I think Amp could win that one? I mean, they beat Noise, who is Hybrid, so I don't know. What is that? What do you do?
Who is Hybrid?
You know? They just are Hybrid. So, okay. Yeah, okay. I'm sticking with Hybrid over Toro in the final.
Hybrid over Toro? Wow. I don't know, man.
Hey,
Toro
look,
the final?
Home cooking, baby. Home cooking. Look, they beat Mixtape. Just say Mixtape's the championship favorite.
Dude, if you go by the transitive property in the mixed division, there is no winner. Everyone loses.
You will end up in a dark abyss.
The snake eats its own tail, Keith.
Oh, very fast.
Okay, let's go to the men's division. Sockeye, Bravo, Pony, Truck Stop, Ring, Machine, Dig, Double Wide, Rhino, Temper, Condors, Sub-Zero. Very good field for the men's division. Not a lot of weakness. I mean, when Sub-Zero, and to be fair, Sub-Zero is terrible this year, but when they're the last seed at the tournament, that's a solid situation. So, this is a chance for us to kind of get a look. Now, some of these teams were at Worlds, right? So we saw Sockeye and Pony at Worlds and Ring, but we haven't had a really chance to see these teams much yet, or at all, during the actual regular USA Ultimate Club season. And so I am very curious to see, does Truck Stop back it up after what we saw from them at US Open?
Nice pun there.
How good is
words?
Thank you. How good is Sockeye? Does Pony look sharp coming off of, Empire season for a lot of their players and just a lot of strength up at the top? Is Machine going to bounce back after just laying a huge egg on day 2 of the US Open? Probably not, because it's the regular season, right, Keith? So I think there's a lot to be interested in here. Another Bravo Dig matchup in pool play. How good is Double Wide going to be? Of course, all of these division lots on the line for bids. So I think Sockeye getting the 1 seed feels pretty generous here, but they are the 1 seed, and they'll probably see Pony if things go to seed in the crossover game. That should be a very interesting matchup before the start of the series.
Hard to know where to start here. I mean, there are a lot of attractive matchups. Obviously, you look at Pool C with Rhino as the 9 seed. Yeah, this Rhino team probably isn't as good as the team that went to semifinals, but they could be. They still got some of the pieces that help them do that. Their roster didn't change that much. Then you got Truck and Ring. Great test for both of those sides to see what they're really going to be made of. Really interesting stuff in the just pool play even of the men's division. Tough to decide. these are tough choices. Tough choices. I can't believe how hard a regular season club tournament is to pick right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not a lot of data. We just don't have a lot of data.
Really
it's not a typical year where a lot of these teams have played against one another already. So I agree. I mean, I think there's lots to see. I mean, Rhino played at Solstice, lost to Sockeye twice, lost to Furious. I think they're going to be better than those results, but we'll have to see. I mean, this is why we play these games, and we get a chance to see like who does look sharp heading into the postseason. Can't believe it's almost the postseason. Keith, who you got for your semifinalists and beyond?
All right. I'm gonna take Sockeye, Bravo. Sockeye, Bravo, Machine Ring to win the pools. Seems like it makes the most sense to me.
You take a Machine over Pony, huh?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's ride with it. It's about time for Machine to play up a bit. They got to bounce back. Got to rubber band it. So then I think I'm just gonna go with a big weekend for Machine. I'm gonna take Machine all the way to the final.
Wow.
And wait, they would rematch with they wouldn't rematch with Pony unless they got to the final. That's how it should be. Yeah, I'm gonna go Chicago. I'm gonna go Pony over Machine in the final.
So the rematch.
So I'm gonna say they split the weekend. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna go Sockeye wins Pool A. Dig wins Pool B. Pony wins Pool C. And Ring wins Pool D. So a couple of upsets along the way. And so let's see. 2B is going to play the winner of G1. So I think we're going to get Bravo versus Pony in quarters. I'm taking Pony. I'm taking Ring, Truck, and Sockeye. Those are your semifinalist teams. And then in the finals, I'm not even going to try to like do all this math. There's too many potential avenues for teams to see each other in semis compared to a normal set of pools. So I'm going to say that we get Pony. And look, I don't know why I should pick anything other than this. I'm going to take Pony and Ring to the final, and I'm going to take Pony to win. And I think this is just going to be foreshadowing of nationals. These are the two best teams in the country right now. So there you go.
I think if I have to pick other semifinalists, man, it's tough. I think I like Truck to make semis.
Truck's been very impressive. They looked very good at the US Open.
Yeah, they looked the part. And then who's going to be in this game? Loser of game 2. Man, this is confusing. I gotta find another semifinalist. I don't think I could take Sockeye. I think I have them already losing. I think they probably have to play Truck. Actually, no, I think I do get Sockeye. All right, I'm just gonna pick Sockeye because I don't feel like figuring it out anymore.
Oh my God.
This is not great radio.
Good luck listening to this segment, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there with us. I mean, it's hard because with the crossovers, like you have to decide who's going to win at like every single level to have a clarity onto which even the quarterfinal matchups are going to be. So
who are your semifinalists aside from Pony? You have Pony over Ring,
Pony, Sockeye, Ring, and what did I say? Did I say Truck?
You got Dig winning their pool.
No, I had winning the pool, and then I had Bravo winning. Oh, then I had Pony beating Bravo in quarters. So I have Sockeye, Pony, Ring, and Truck.
Okay.
Yes, and then Pony and Ring in the final, and Pony in the champ to win the championship.
Okay. Do we need semifinalists from mixed?
I thought we did that.
I don't know. I don't. Okay. We'll figure it out. We're good.
Okay, we're good. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. You can follow along with all the action. We're going to have reporters on the ground, and then, of course, our standard stream on YouTube, and then for Ultiworld Full and Plus subscribers, Field Pass beginning on Saturday morning. So you can become a subscriber at ultiworld.com/subscribe. If you want to just listen to Deep Look bonus segments, of course, we'd love you for that too. Just get yourself a mini subscription. If you want to watch live streaming video, Field Pass this weekend and beyond, get yourself a full or a plus. For Keith Raynor, I'm Charlie Eisenhood saying so long, and we'll talk to you next week right here on Deep Look.